Let's talk about it. Let's spill the tea.
Italy was also where our first hiccup came into play. And you snapped. You had like a little bit of an attitude.
Hey, I was in my 20s. Listen, I had a lot to learn about.
I felt bad and always wondered how upset you might have been about that.
Welcome back to How Do You Human? I am Sam.
And this is Zaya, 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 Zaya.
I love it. If you joined us on our first episode, we talked about life as a death sentence. To be given life also means you are given that ticket of death. We talked about a lot of different things, but also kept it a little bit light on some personal stories that I'm sure that we'll revisit later and maybe give more time to, like an entire episode to talk about those deeper things. But what are we talking about today?
This is a get to know us episode. We've had some people inquiring and asking, who are we? Are we brother and sister? Are we something else? Like, what is our dynamic? And an interest expressed in getting to know us more. That was expressed by Kalen, by the way, who we want to give a shout out to. He's the artist who is behind the trailer of our podcast. He's got that wonderful song called Sunday Morning. I had the pleasure of meeting Kalen in a men's circle in the big island of Hawaii. Beautiful human. He's doing his thing out there in LA, teaching yoga. He has his own podcast. So really just wanted to highlight him and acknowledge that he even asked us that he'd love to see an episode of just getting to know who we are. And we are going to leave a link in this YouTube video so that you can access his song and his music.
Yes, shout out and thank you so much to Kaylin. And also, if anyone else has any topics or thoughts on, episodes that they'd like to see, please comment, please subscribe and share if you are finding value in it. Let's get started though at the beginning. We are brother and sister. And so
We are.
let's talk about our childhood a little bit. We definitely come from humble beginnings and um, know what it's like to go without a lot of things. We come from a big family. Our dad had 14 kids, but our mom had six of the 14, and you're the oldest of our mom's kids, and I am the youngest. So it's kind of fun, this relationship that we get to share in talking and being so close, even with that age gap.
Yeah. And well, growing up poor, having so many siblings, constantly moving in and out of spaces, definitely it was that kind of childhood. And so I don't have a ton of memories of my childhood because there was no consistency. There was no, it wasn't grounded. And when you have so many siblings, it's just so much is happening at one time. I know we formed teams, we were very competitive, we were bored and had to figure out how we were going to keep ourselves occupied, whether it was setting up a volleyball net, and we could easily form two sets of teams with all the kids that we had.
Yeah, I love our outdoor times. I loved capture the flag or hide and seek. We had that barn in Indiana that we kind of used to our advantage with capture the flag. Um, I loved one of my favorite stories from childhood, though, is walking to like the only gas station in town, which is a few miles away. But someone, and I don't know who it was, bought candy. And we would come back to the house and play like Uno or card games and kind of compete. And whoever won got like the bag of M&Ms or um, I didn't win often, but it was like a highlight of childhood. We played basketball, we played football, we set up like water slides out in the yard. So we had a lot of fun regardless of, our the things that we lacked, I guess. And we had a lot of hand-me-downs. I feel like I've seen a picture of myself in a sweater that two of my older sisters also wore. And my
Yeah.
my favorite hand-me-down shirt was the one that says like, "Don't worry, be happy" on it. It was the good stuff.
Being the youngest, being the baby of the family, I can see how you got everyone else's seconds.
Yeah.
And for better for worse, it was crazy how we would gamble so much in competitive games, wagering candy, Jolly Ranchers, and we lived in we've lived in a very competitive and judgmental culture. Uh, that's for the worst, I think, but it is what it is, and yeah, that's our childhood. I think you had spoken to being the youngest person, you felt maybe taken care of.
Yeah, I was definitely taken care of, but also I think with that came like on the not so positive side, you just don't have a voice or a say as much as everyone else. So it's like I wasn't picking where we were going to eat or what we were going to eat or what we were watching on TV. I was always waiting in line to get a chance to play like a video game or something. Um, but it comes with the territory.
Yeah, yeah. And as the older brother, I hope I did okay at taking care and being responsible, but I also know, teasing and playing around, and I there's probably plenty of things I did that y'all are still harboring and
There might be
holding on to with micro traumas or things like that. But I do remember now, and I feel like this was consented. I don't know how we would have created a torture situation with this, but we would roll one of the sisters up in a blanket, and me and someone else would hold both ends, kind of wrap it up like a Tootsie Roll, and then like a jump rope, we'd swing that person in a circle. I want to say, I hope that that was like a roller coaster ride for them and they came out of it laughing. My childhood memories are not great. And we did speak to the fact that, our age gap, by the time you were 10, I was out of the house. When I was 10, you were coming into this world. And so we didn't really share a childhood together. And most of our memories are are as adults.
yeah.
Yeah.
No broken bones, no serious injuries. We're all fine. I just want to put that out there. Like,
And I also wanted to say the one thing I do love about our family is how close we are, because we are a very large family. And I know so many families who they disown each other already. They don't speak to each other. And, we're not perfect. We're not all super close, every single one of us, but collectively, we are very close as a family. We even have like a WhatsApp call. We all chat and message each other. So the care, the love, and the connection that we have as a family, I really love, considering how difficult our upbringing was and how big our family is.
yeah, lots of love. Lots of love there. What, when you were growing up, though, what did you want to be? And you thought, oh, I'm gonna do this when I become an adult.
Yep, I remember I wanted to be an astronomer, and my Josh, who I mentioned in our previous podcast, was my childhood best friend. And I would go over to his house. He wanted to be an astrophysicist, and I wanted to be an astronomer. So I would read books on planets and the stars. That dream is not there anymore. And in hindsight, I feel like, when you're young, you're closer to the spirit world. You're really close to the spirit world because you just came from that world. And I feel like I'm not from this planet. And so I think in my first years of being on this planet, in my energy body, I was somewhere else, and which is why I was so drawn to the cosmos out there. Whereas after I had, years and decades of grounding into this earthly world, I've definitely lost touch with that desire. How about you?
I thought I was going to be a singer. Our sister Victoria would help me learn lyrics to Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey songs, and I just loved singing. So that's what I wanted to do.
I didn't know that, but I remember one of the last times you were here in Colorado, you sang a cover. You did a Michael Jackson song, and it was fantastic. So I love that you're still singing and showing the world your voice at times.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was such a fun time. I got to, I sang and recorded a song, a Michael Jackson cover, in Olivia's basement. And it's funny, I have this picture where I set this microphone up in like a paper towel holder. Like it just looks so pieced together, but it was a fun time and I got to do an aerial silks performance to it.
Oh wow. Oh yes. Yep. I remember that.
Thank you for reminding me about that. That was fun.
What are you saying? The way you make me feel?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, let's see what's next. What hard lessons in life?
Yeah. Well, what's your hardest lesson you've had to learn now that we're moving on from childhood, getting to an adult?
Even saying the word hardest is triggering because it brings me to my lesson. My lesson is we grew up with an extreme father, and there's a beauty in some of what he has gifted us, but also a curse too. And I think part of the curse is just the extremism. And so getting away from extremism has been so healthy for me. And one of the lessons that I have learned. And so just getting away from terms like hardest or best or worst or greatest, just these terms that create such extremism or such separation. And that, has had its plagues in my life around being rigid in certain areas. And yeah, so for me, not the hardest lesson I've learned, but a lesson that I have really worked through and come to terms with is, yeah, just getting away from extremism.
I would I resonate with that, and I would say that a hard lesson for me has just been realizing that I can easily have a very rigid frame of mind and needing to find some flexibility in that and not be so black and white, I guess, or so.
And I think unhealthy expectations and the perfectionist syndrome kind of is looped all into that.
It kills me. I'm not perfect.
All right. Well, if we were to lighten up a little bit, what's next? Favorite movie, current shows you're watching?
I just turned on the movie Wicked again for the second time. Um, I just think Ariana Grande's character is really funny, and I think she did a great job. So, um, I've been enjoying that recently. What about you?
I just want to say I don't know anything about Wicked, but I'll have to check it out. I did hear though something is coming out like next month. Like, is Wicked 2? Is there like another Wicked that's about to come out?
There, I honestly, it wasn't a movie that I kept tabs on or was like rushing to see when it was released. But the way that they end the first movie indicates that there's going to be a second one. So yeah, I'm guessing that
Okay. Because
that's
we have
it.
a niece, Malia, who's excited about, I'm pretty sure Wicked, another version or another whatever is coming out in the next month or two. And she's already got advanced tickets and is excited for it to come out.
Oh, then I'm excited too.
Okay. Maybe I need to get with it so I can be in the loop. And yeah, I don't often watch TV. I'm so disconnected from what's out there, but I did recently watch this documentary called The Eternal Song. And I guess
Okay.
they're going to release 12 episodes. It was all about indigenous culture, colonization, and they were kind of alluding to creative solutions of what does going forward look like. But it was fascinating. It was very picturesque. So just the beauty of the film cinematography and the locations they shot. And I was so captivated by just aspects of indigenous culture, right? They have these creeds: you live here, you die here. They have this tight knit community of people they live with and grow with, and it's very localized. And then even they're so generationally deep in their lineage. And I think I'm always fascinated by what is different than I am, right? Our culture is so fragmented. We have such a diverse, we don't have a very tight knit genealogy, like part German, we're part Italian, we are part African American. And then not only are we so spread out in our diversity, but our lineage is so fragmented, disowned by our German Italian side of the family, and then our father's side, the African American side, fragmented through poverty, carnage, potentially slavery, and so we don't even know who our great grandfathers and great grandmothers are on that side. So it's so interesting to see yourself in a different way, from what you're noticing that's out there, even just from the local standpoint, right? Like you live here, you die here. I've been very fortunate to be all over Europe. I've traveled South America. I've been all over the United States in terms of living. And so it's such a different story compared to what you see in some of the really just rooted indigenous cultures. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Wow, I like that. Um, what else? Let's see. Do you have a favorite song you're listening to?
What am I listening to right now? There's a song called Leave You by Lola Jane. And it's a slower song. We often hear it and play it in the Zouk world. So officially a Zoukero, I guess I could say. I just kind of addicted to the Zouk scene this year. And yeah, that song's really great. Love it.
Cool.
What are you
Um,
listening to?
Goodness. Recently, let me actually just pull up my playlist. I'll tell you the last song I added. Art Museum by Cautious Clay.
Nice. I really like Cautious Clay, and I have not heard that song.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. I think he just in the last couple months or whatever, or last month maybe, released like a either a short album or an EP or but it's good.
Nice.
Yeah. What what are some more things we can talk about in regards to our relationship?
Ooh, how about some fun stories and some tough times?
Talk about our travels together. We've done a few travels. We did a trip to Cancun my senior year of high school. That was so awesome. I really appreciate you taking me there.
Might have been the first vacation I ever went on too.
That's fun. We did Europe and
That was epic. We did almost 5 weeks in Europe to even time that in terms of what's happening in both of our lives, to sync that up and then to have the freedom. I remember I had worked my tail off for 4 years in this new business venture and finally felt like I had enough freedom and flexibility to take some time off. And it was amazing that we were able to tour Europe together. We did Greece, we did Italy, we went to Paris. I fell in love with the language. We went to Belgium and then the Netherlands. What were some of your favorite highlights?
oh goodness. I loved our trip in Greece when we got to the island of Milos. And we stayed in the lower half of this house of this cute Greek family or couple. And I remember when we arrived, I think the wife was sitting outside with like cookies for us, like some fresh baked treat. It was so wonderful.
They were amazing hosts, and we would learn some of the words like Efkaristo and
Para,
Paraco. What's it?
Paracalo.
Paracalo.
We
And what?
we did some cliff jumping.
We did jump off a cliff. I'll probably never do that again. You did it like 3 or 4 times. And once was enough for me. And they hold professional Budweiser diving competitions or Red Bull diving competitions on that same cliff we jumped off of at Saracanito Beach. One of the most beautiful spaces I've ever been in. It's probably one of the top 2 or 3 places I would love to go back to if we ever did. And I'll never forget jumping down. And I thought water was clear, like in Hawaii or different places. Right there outside of Milos, as soon as I opened my eyes, you could just, it felt like you could see a mile or more out into the sea. And then I started making me feel eerie, like, wow, there's a whole other world down here. What is here? It was the most crystal clear water I've ever seen. And I don't know if that speaks to the time of the year we went, or if we were very fortunate based on, tides and things like that. But yeah, that trip to Milos was such a highlight. And you remember the Palamidi fortress we climbed outside of Athens in Naphtalion
Yeah.
on our, I think it was hundreds, maybe thousands of steps. It was amazing to tour that space and see what Greek culture is like. And then on our way down, we ran into that turtle, turtle sitting in the middle of the steps. And I just remember thinking that was a sign for you to slow down because it felt like we were moving too quickly around the different tourist spaces where I wanted to just settle down more and relax and chill. And you were ready for the next thing. So I remember thinking that turtle was for you.
Hey, I was in my 20s. Listen, I had a lot to learn about slowing down. I appreciate the signs.
And remember how crazy Athens was. I don't think I could have navigated Athens on my own without a second person there, because the letters, the signs, just driving through Athens was nuts. We needed both of each. We each needed each other, I felt like.
Oh yeah. I thought I was gonna hit a scooter for sure because they just weave in and out of traffic, get on the sidewalk, get back in front of you. Like they just do whatever they want. And so driving like the car in Athens was crazy, but then we had a really fun time with that ATV rental that we did in Santorini. You drove that one. I was just on the back like good time.
Could never forget that, especially because we both like relaxation, decompression. We're both licensed massage therapists, and so we love, body work and serenity. And we had that moment in Santorini where we basically had a spa day in the Mediterranean Sea next to Santorini's volcano. It was one of the most epic things to jump off their boat. The water was freezing when we first jumped off. And then as we swam up to the volcano, the water started getting warmer and warmer. And then we got to basically soak in that warm water and reach down and grab the red clay and just like give ourselves a whole clay bath. Yeah, it was unforgettable.
Yeah. And then from Greece, we went to Italy. We did Lake Como, we did Cinque Terre. There were, at one point in time, we kind of got stuck in one of the cities because the train through Cinque Terre had like stopped for the day or whatever. So that was fun. I we did a beach day there that like I just felt so blissed out because at this point in our trip, I just like lost track of like what day it was. I was on vacation. It was wonderful.
Italy was also where our first hiccup came into play, which
Let's
I know was my fault. You wanna tell that story?
let's talk about it. Let's spill the tea. Um, so we get this Airbnb rental under my account and I book it for two people. I'm like, we're set. And then you said, I think I'm gonna bring another guest. I think I'm gonna invite this person to join us. And I said, we're booked for two. It'll be fine, it'll be fine. And lo and behold, it was not. Because when we left and they gave me a review, they were just upset. They said all these other things that I don't think were true, but they said, and they snuck in a third person. So,
It was plenty of space for three people. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, and sure enough, it came back on us, and mostly you because it was your Airbnb account. I felt bad and always wondered how upset you might have been about that.
the best. Yeah, but
And
we had wonderful time in Italy. Then we went to Paris, and you gave me the gift of getting to see the women's US Open or not, or the
French
not
Open,
Open.
Roland Garros.
Yeah, That was
You saw
amazing.
Serena Williams. She walked right by us, and we got to see her semifinal match.
So good. And then you went on to the finals and I explored Paris.
Yes, Novak Nole was in the finals that year. And our last hiccup was in Amsterdam. We were on like our 29th or 30th day together. It was our last 3 days before we were coming back to the States. And I remember your phone was charging, and I looked at it and I thought I saw 40% or something. Mine was way down. So I thought, oh, I'm going to pull your charger out. We only had one plug in. I pulled your charger out and plugged in mine, and you snapped. You had like a little bit of an attitude that I maybe I didn't ask you. And that was the first time where the tension between us became palpable. Kudos for us to even last, almost 30 days being with each other every day uh, in such a harmonious way. But at day 29 or 30, things got a little tense. You were upset at me. And that was just, I felt like the the feelings you had were a lot for the situation itself. Although I don't want to just not validate your feelings either. But that moment, we were like, okay, we've got 3 days left. Let's just finally go our own way and do our own thing. And we kind of rounded out the trip just on our own.
Yeah, very true. My bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. I back then I definitely was not the best communicator or the as good of a communicator as I am now. So I always look back and think there's probably ways I could have handled that better as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice though to know like for the most part, we get along but we're human and we have our things and sometimes we're just like, I need my space.
Yeah.
Speaking more on like, how much we get along, like you said, we're both massage therapists. I feel like we have that, kindred spirit in a lot of ways and do find it easy. But then there are some ways in which we're different. And so I always think about, I don't know why this stands out for me, but I always think about our movie choices are probably different. And they're just family memories of, I think you had picked a bad movie for movie night and everyone, no one let you live that down.
No, Lorelli was the worst. Like I picked out, I remember Along Came Polly. We had a whole group family come over. I still to this day think Along Came Polly is a great feel good movie. And it y'all started booing it right away. And it just collectively went downhill so fast. It had no chance of even surviving.
Well, and then you recently took some of our or a niece and nephew to see the Demon Slayer movie, and you're like, I'm done. I'm like not interested. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Demon Slayer.
Yeah, we definitely have different movie interests because I walked out of that movie with about 20 minutes left and just asked my niece, tell me how the rest of it went.
Yep. Um, but what's like what I was trying to think of? Oh, another thing I think we differ on is the adventure or extreme sports or like the enthusiasm for that.
Yes, I feel like you can be a thrill seeker. You have jumped out of a plane before, maybe multiple times. You were just telling me about just once. You were recently telling me about trying out wheelies on a motorcycle. And I'm like, I've never even been on a motorcycle, and you're learning how to pop wheelies on a motorcycle. I just don't have that feeling of that rush. Like, so those are definitely some ways in which we're different.
Yeah. I was thinking at one point in time we had talked about this question of what would be the hardest thing if we traded lives. And I was thinking about your tennis career and how that would like if I had to jump in and play tennis as you for a day, oh my gosh. Because I've watched you play and I think you're phenomenal and so talented. And it's kind of that one thing I envy about you and just like your journey. And and what you love, something that you love, you
Hmm.
know?
Thanks, sis. For the record, it's not a career. I have not made a dime playing tennis. And we look good to the average spectator, but I'm like a middle upper 4 or 5 player. Whereas you have to be a 5.5 to 6.0 to even be out there, you know, I think you're approaching semi-pro at that point, and then you got the next level, which is the pros. So it's definitely a hobby, but one that has been a very joyous part of my life.
Yeah. Um, to continue on the lighter side of things, what about food? What are you eating? What are you loving these days?
Ooh, I like this. Some little rapid fire questions. I I recently actually put on my Instagram this salad that I made. So it was this decadent salad. It was loaded with cranberries, walnuts, cucumbers, hard-boiled eggs, avocado. But the coolest part about it was that I like to make my own salad dressing. And I put 7 different ingredients in there: mustard, honey, olive oil, peanut butter, lemon, salt, and pepper, and just really mix it up into like its own balsamic. So that's been really good lately. I like to do that a couple times a week.
I've made my own salad dressing, but I normally do like brown mustard, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of maple syrup, I think. Um, so I'll have to try your combo, especially with the peanut butter. I don't know that I've had any dressing with peanut butter. Maybe I have, but didn't know.
You have to be careful with the peanut butter and the mustard, of course.
Yeah. What
How about
about,
oh,
oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say coffee or tea. You a coffee gal or a tea gal?
I love the smell of coffee. Every time my roommate makes it, I just want a cup, but I'm also trying to avoid tannins and caffeine right now. So I just bought this brand called Tequino, and I'm doing their mushroom blend. And I, it's fine because it's very light in terms of flavor, but I kind of prefer coffee with like milk anyways, like more of a latte. So it definitely satisfies the smell and like that more bitter taste. And then I get to avoid all the things that I don't want with coffee.
Nice.
What about you?
I'm like a switch hitter. I'll go back and forth between tea and coffee. It's definitely different. Like you said, the smell of coffee is amazing, like the aroma, but black coffee on its own doesn't add up. Like I sometimes wonder how something can smell so good, and then when you drink it, it feels like it's an acquired taste. So I do love coffee more than tea, as long as we've got a little bit of cream and some honey is nice too. But yeah, I go back and forth. I feel like I feel like coffee is like your friend picking you up to take you to a party. There's just something fun about it. Where tea is like your friend waking you up at 7 a.m. for vinyasa class. Like it's nice, but it's just different. Tea just doesn't slap the way coffee does. Although when I do drink tea, I don't put anything in it. I really just like the simplicity of tea and kind of this just taking in its flavors.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Do you have any guilty pleasures right now?
I will say that I try not to live with guilt in my pleasures.
Oh,
I enjoy playing music. I love dancing zouk. I play tennis. Lately, I've been into this thing, is the best word I have for it, called catching songs, inspired by Brian and this wonderful human I met out on the West Coast in Seattle, out in the Pacific Northwest. We call him Yam, and he teaches this workshop called Catching Songs, where you go out into nature and you really you might find a beat, you might find a melody, you might find a chant that has no words to it. And so in these song circles that I love to be a part in, I've been really digging catching songs and kind of finding chance melodies, niguns, whatnot.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
How about you?
Um, well, I like what you just said that you try not to find guilt in your pleasures. That makes sense. Like why should I feel bad for enjoying this life? But I have just been loving riding the motorcycle, and it's a shame because summer is coming to an end, so that will end. But um, that I really like rucking, and I've been really enjoying going out to eat, which is interesting because I'm more of a stay-at-home cook for myself because I like to control like what's in my food from like the oils and spices and all that stuff. But I've just been recently kind of giving myself permission to go out and then just finding cute places that I want to try different things at and been enjoying that.
Nice. And I think I heard rucking.
Yes, so
What is that?
it's just essentially like a weighted hike, but it's a there's a specific term for it because they create ruck plates. So there'll be like these almost looks like a plate you would find like in a bulletproof vest or whatever, but these weighted plates and you'll put them in your bag and you'll go hike. And
Nice.
they have events as well. I want to sign up for one at some point, but
That's awesome. I know how much you like working out, so that's really cool.
yeah.
How about one more question before we close off into our podcast audience transitions? What is one thing we admire about each other or look up to each other for? Who goes first?
Well, do you have yours?
I do. All right, Sam. One thing I admire about you is the way you exist in this world authentically and how well you are at naming your struggles, which I feel go a long way in your ability to exist and to lean on support and to allow, yeah, just to allow the world to be in your life in a healthy and therapeutic way. I'm even reminded of when you were going through a lot at one point in time. You rallied the family together, and we were all on a call, on multiple calls with you in prayer, and just knowing what you were going through. And instead of hiding it, instead of being avoidant, which is such what we have in this culture, this taboo avoidant culture. I just love that you wear not just your pleasures but your pains, for your community to see and to support you in.
Oh. Um, what I admire about you is in the last few years, you've just made these bold moves to change and grow and step into this new role as a coach and a voice and someone who holds space for people and their pain and their tough times. And it's just fascinating to know all of the hard work you've had to put in. Like I've gotten a little bit of a behind the curtain sneak peek on the personal development side of things that you've had to go through and choices you've had to make just to do that. So it's one, I don't think everyone can do it or chooses to do it, especially later in life, you know? It's like when you're in your teens, usually that's the time period that shapes you, and then you kind of go in that direction. And so to change directions at all, be it a career or in personal life, like is just a really bold thing to do that I don't think everyone does. So I really admire your courage and really appreciate who you are as a person and the way that you hold space and care for others. It's like phenomenal.
Mm, thanks.
Um, So as we end this episode, what is one, or what is a fear and a hope in terms of as we're launching this podcast? Like anything you can share?
I always name this in the men's circles that I'm in, that my fear is always rejection. And so if you're putting something out there and it gets rejected, and I think I also just I fear having unhealthy expectations behind it. Would love to work through that. And then let's see. Oh yeah, you go first, and then we'll talk about hopes.
Yeah, my fear is offending someone because I feel that it's gonna happen. There's just, I've mentioned in the first episode, the human experience is so vast, and so oftentimes what is true for one person can invalidate or make someone else feel bad for what, their truth is. And so I just feel so nervous about that.
Yeah.
Because I think we intend to talk about some real topics and some deep topics and not just oh, do the pretty talk or what's easy.
Yeah, it's a real fear. I hope we can navigate the gray space or the fine line between cultivating our own compassion and sensitivity, but also just being honest and being allowing ourselves to be real, even if that isn't the best version of ourselves. And hopefully, the world can exercise and demonstrate compassion as well in terms of just listening without judgment, whether we are in our highest self, our middle self, or even our lower selves.
Yeah. And then I would say my hope is that it impacts, I mean, even one person, that someone just gains and benefits and finds a new perspective or a deeper understanding for something that they're curious about. What about for you?
Yeah, a similar hope. I hope that through our connection in this platform, that creativity and wisdom and our own bond and love for each other continues to sprout. And as well, you never know. Sometimes someone hears something at the right moment in the right time, and it has an incalculable impact on what they needed in that moment. And so, in terms of our voices, our messages, our gifts, we hope they reach the people that they're meant to in this world, and has a positive impact.
Yes. Any other closing thoughts?
No. But I'm excited for the next episode. I know we have several in the queue, and some wonderful topics that we're looking forward to connecting on.
Yes. This has been How Do You Human? Please like, share, subscribe, comment, send us any topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, and be blessed. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
I just wanna wake up, get my cake up, praise my maker, ayo, 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 ayo. Nice. I was ready to keep singing.